Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some consequences for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Don't forget right now, if you use code OZ at checkout, you get free worldwide shipping with gamer subs on all orders over $75. This offer will be active until May 1st at 2 p.m. EST, so be sure to use it while you can. This post was collected by Similar Shame 7517. Their tagline is, "Try and fire me for having too much dick." And for those of you curious, yes, that tagline is on my list of posts to cover. The original OP is Probate Court Help, posted to r/legal advice November 3rd, 2015. I think I've gotten caught up in a situation involving lying to/in court, and I don't know what to do. Quick background. My parents passed away several years ago in an accident. My mom's parents are the only living grandparents. My sister, brother, and I are their only grandchildren. This is a very long story, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. My grandparents are approaching 90, and both have recently started to be affected by Alzheimer's. My brother has been helping them for several years, especially after our parents died. My grandparents have always been very active, very healthy, very independent people, and I thought it was ridiculous that my brother would bring them meals, shovel their driveway, mow the lawn, help them to doctor's appointments, etc., because they were perfectly able to handle that themselves. Earlier this year, my grandparents were diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My brother was given medical and durable power of attorney, which was apparently how my grandparents set up their living trust. A few months after the diagnosis, my brother moved them into an assisted living home. My sister did some research and was getting very worried about everything. She explained that our brother now owned all of my grandparents' real estate properties and all their bank accounts and stocks and whatnot, and that our grandparents were now powerless. That our brother controlled everything. I was really upset and worried, especially when my brother started renting one of the real estate properties out. So, my sister and I decided to try to contest things. She found a lawyer who came out to my grandparents' assisted living and met with them. We talked to him about how my brother was taking advantage of my grandparents and how he'd gotten them to sign over everything to him, etc. That lawyer called my sister back a few days later and said he wasn't going to represent us because there was no case. So my sister found a different lawyer, and things are now in probate court. She has way more knowledge about this whole thing, so she's taken the lead on it. The new lawyer filed complaints with the probate court that my brother had taken advantage of my grandparents by fostering dependence when he was bringing them meals, doing yard work, and taking them to the doctor when they were able to do it themselves, and therefore putting himself in a position to be put in charge of their money. My grandparents' money/assets are being misused and or stolen. My brother is renting out the house at below market rates. He's trying to isolate my grandparents by taking control of all their affairs and moving them into a home. We're now asking the court to remove my brother as power of attorney and as trustee of the living trust. Now, here's my dilemma. The probate court ordered my brother to submit an accounting of my grandparents' finances. And he did. Our lawyer got a copy of it last week and said that everything is not only in order, but my brother had improved some investments to bring in more money to the trust. Our lawyer also spent a little time going over some of the information in the trust. My grandparents updated their trust when my parents died to make my brother the first person in line to take over their affairs on incapacity or death. When my grandparents pass, all of their assets are to be divided equally among my brother, my sister, and me, except any outstanding loans any of us still have with them would be deducted from that person's share. He said there's also a no contest clause in the trust, but that he needed to do more research on what that means. He said that there's no way the court will make any changes based on the accounting because it's, as he said, immaculate. However, if we have more information about my brother mistreating/isolating my grandparents, that we'll fight on that. Today, my sister is telling me that she believes my brother has falsified the accounting that was done and that she's going to have proof of it and that will get my brother removed. She also plans to have the part in the trust removed about the outstanding loans being deducted and get legal guardianship over my parents. I'm starting to have second thoughts and I'm not sure what to do here. If my brother falsified the accounting, what happens? If my sister comes up with proof, but I have a nagging suspicion that she's going to make something up, and gives it to the court, can I get in trouble for being on her side? Short update. I'm getting my name the hell off this thing. Added in an edit to the original post. My sister is so smooth talking, so damn smooth talking. I talked to her without saying anything about this post. She didn't give me any specifics about what kind of proof she can get or what exactly she thinks our brother is doing to screw over the finances or hurt our grandparents. But she talks in such a convincing manner that I was about ready to discount everything posted here. I asked her how she thought we should manage my grandparents' care after my brother was removed. And she said she thought we should move them back to their house and hire a cleaning lady off Craigslist to come out once a week so Granny didn't have to worry about cleaning. Then I sucked it up and called my brother. He couldn't talk much since he needed to get his kids in bed soon, and he wasn't very friendly, which I think I deserve. I told him that I think I was being lied to and that our sister was acting shady. He agreed to answer my questions. I asked him why he'd moved them to such an expensive assisted living, and I guess some months back, Granny left a pot on the stove and left to go shopping. My brother stopped by while she was out and found the pot on the lit burner, billowing smoke, burnt and ruined, and Grandpa was watching TV, totally unaware of the smoke. And Gramps had taken the batteries out of the smoke detector last time Granny burned something, so the fucking house could have burned down. He moved them out right after that, and whoever said my sister owes our grandparents a lot of money was right. According to my brother, just over $500,000. I feel sick, but it's worse than that even. Okay, so Grandpa kept really thorough financial files, and he had signed loan agreements with whoever owed money, and he kept everything in a file cabinet. Yes, I also owe them some money for a car, but it's down to $4,000, and I've made every monthly payment. So after my brother got my grandparents moved into assisted living, he went to gather all the financial documents so he could get everything in order, and he found that all the loan agreements my sister had signed were missing from her file. He suspects she took them so there'd be no record of what she owes. Apparently, Grandpa kept photocopies of the important stuff, including loan agreements and a payment ledger book, in a fire safe as backup. So my brother has proof of what everyone owes. I feel sick. I don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. I'm going to call the lawyer tomorrow and find out how to get removed from this mess. Top/relevant comments. User damaged dude comments. Going devil's advocate here. Your brother, sensing the signs of your grandparents' dementia before they were diagnosed with Alzheimer's, started helping them with chores, etc., while you and your sister did nothing. Then, after they were diagnosed, he moved them into assisted living, which, from experience, is not cheap. We sold my mother's home to pay for her assisted living. The money went fast, as she noted many left that place for nursing homes not because their health worsened, but that they ran out of money. You don't say that your brother is keeping you and your sister from them. Just you're upset he's spending down their assets to keep them safe, healthy, and happy in their end years. Not satisfied, you and your sister found a lawyer to give you the answers you want to hear so you can blow what remains of your grandparents' assets on a lawyer in court, dooming them to a nursing home earlier than their money would have otherwise allowed. Not sure if there are any loans, though I suspect you or your sister owe your grandparents some money, but it sounds as if any money left over will be split evenly among the three of you. No contest clause means anyone who contests the will, and the will is found valid, gets nothing. Of course, if the will is found to be invalid, the will goes away and the laws of intestate apply. You show no evidence your grandparents are being mistreated or isolated, there's a false accounting, or that your brother is stealing their money. Instead, I see two grandchildren upset that their brother is doing the right thing by your grandparents and making sure their final years are good, even if that means spending down their assets, which would happen anyway if they went to a nursing home. Is there anything I've missed or misinterpreted? If not, I don't see a legal issue, but I do see two greedy heirs worried that their money is being spent by those who have the money, or their power of attorney for them, before they can inherit. If that is the case, I'll keep my opinion of you and your sister's character mostly to myself. From personal experience, though you and your sister may not like it, your brother sounds as if he's doing everything possible to make your grandparents' final years as good as they can be. That is not cheap. Instead of worrying about your inheritance, you and your sister should be asking yourselves what you will do if your grandparents outlive their money. Keep paying for assisted living out of your pockets, or dump them in a nursing home and let your brother deal with it. Redditor 1. This is the part of OP's post that really struck me as, what the fuck? My grandparents are approaching 90 and they both have recently started to be affected by Alzheimer's. My brother has been helping them for several years, especially after our parents died. My grandparents have always been very active, very healthy, very dependent people, and I thought it was ridiculous when my brother would bring them meals, shovel their walkway, mow the lawn, help them to doctor's appointments, etc. because they were perfectly able to handle that themselves. User probate court help, are you saying that you think that your 90-plus-year-old grandmother/grandfather should be out shoveling their driveway themselves? That is absurd. Somebody that age is liable to have a heart attack from the exertion. A shovel of snow can be very heavy. If your grandfather injured himself by slipping on ice and falling, there is a very real possibility of him never walking again. Broken bones in the elderly, especially a broken hip, often cause serious complications, including death. Hypothermia is another issue. If grandpa is outside shoveling and sits down for a little break and falls asleep, entirely possible, he better hope somebody notices him quickly. Even if he doesn't die, he could easily lose one or more fingers or toes or even an arm or a leg. The elderly often have other health issues like nerve damage, as an example from diabetes, low blood pressure, circulation problems, breathing problems, e.g. COPD from smoking and asthma, etc. My parents are much younger than your grandparents and I no longer live with them, but I often help them out by making them dinner or doing chores around their house. They are 100% capable of doing those things for themselves, but I help out because it's my way of thanking them for everything they did for me growing up. I'm certainly not trying to manipulate them into changing their will to benefit me. The older they get, the more I will help them. It's normal and okay to help care for a family member as they get older. Are you suggesting that your grandparents should be left to fend for themselves? OP's relevant comments. Redditor 2. Why is your sister so dead set on disrupting your brother? What proof would she have that he lied? Was the accounting verified by an auditor? He would have really had to falsify many different records for this to be the case. You really should find out from your sister why she suspects your brother is lying. It sounds to me like your sister feels shafted during this whole incident while your brother was attempting to help your grandparents as they slowed down. If they're 90 and have developed Alzheimer's, it's not unreasonable for them to begin to need help around the house, nor for them to be moved into an assisted living home. OP responds, I don't know if the accounting was verified by an auditor. My brother's lawyer turned it into the court, and I believe the court sent a copy of it to our lawyer. The accounting was done by a CPA, a certified public accountant. Oh, another thing my sister wants to fight is that my brother's lawyer is being paid for by my grandparents' trust. His fees are right there in the accounting, and meanwhile, my sister and I have to pay for our lawyer ourselves. Right now, I'm not totally sure why she's so convinced that our brother is falsifying things. She says she 100% knows our brother is lying, and that it's not right that he's using my grandparents' money the way he is. I agree with her that they don't need to be in a home because their Alzheimer's isn't bad. They could be staying at home instead of spending nearly $1,000 a month to stay in assisted living. Grammy can still cook and tidy up, neither of them wander off. They still know who they are and who we are, etc. And Grammy doesn't like it there. It makes me wonder if he's misusing money in other ways. I don't know. On one hand, I can see my sister's point that maybe my brother is doing stuff wrong, but on the other hand, I just have this suspicion that she's making some stuff up. For example, she insisted that the house my brother is renting out was being rented out at way below market value. But her lawyer said it's not. Redditor 2. If the accounting was done by a CPA, then your sister should stop right there. CPAs usually aren't all about being complicit in fraud and potentially losing their licensing, nor facing criminal charges by turning it into a court of law. I doubt there's anything wrong with the finances. If the power of attorney entrusted your brother to make these decisions on their behalf, then your sister has no grounds to fight that the legal fees are being paid out of the trust. If you want to attempt to go after your brother for neglect by putting them in a safe environment, That is you and your sister's decision. It sounds like he's being proactive in this case and attempting to make their lives easier. Just because they can cook and tidy up doesn't mean one day one of them, God forbid, won't fall or accidentally hit someone while they're driving. Alzheimer's is a progressive disease, and you won't know the day that you'll find your grandmother has wandered off, even if she was fine weeks before. Redditor 3, deleted account. Your sister's more worried about the money she's not going to get when your grandparents die. Your brother is spending their money to care for them and is doing everything to help them. I hope the no contest clause disinherits your sister. The real question is, why are you going along with this? Is your brother an evil mastermind, or are you both being greedy? Your own story makes you and your sister look like assholes. Opie responds, what exactly does the no contest clause mean? Our lawyer didn't know the details and said he needed to research it more. Redditor 4. Generally, it means that if you contest the will, you forfeit the right to your inheritance if the will is held to be enforceable. What it exactly means depends on the wording, which is probably what your lawyer needed to look into. Redditor 5. If, and I say if, the brother has not in fact stolen all of the grandparents' property, real estate, money, whatever else, and put it into his own name, but has instead set up a trust which will handle everything and then distributes it fairly to all three of you upon death, then what's the problem? Opie responds, well, my brother didn't set up a trust. My grandparents had a living trust made probably 20 years ago now to hold other real estate and stocks and stuff. My brother was just named as the person who would take it over when they die or are incapacitated. Well, it was our mom originally, but when she died, they changed it to my brother. The thing is, my brother controls everything. He has a credit card in his name on their account. The checks he writes say brother's name X Family Trust. He decided to move them into an expensive assisted living, and now he's paying his lawyer from my grandparents' accounts. I don't know who to believe or what's the right thing. Some of what my sister is doing seems shady. Some of what my brother is doing seems shady. Redditor 4. He has a credit card in his name on their account. The checks he writes say brother's name, X Family Trust. It's probably the best way to pay for their care. He decided to move them into an expensive assisted living. Does your brother have a job, business, life? He probably wants to have a life on his own and not spend all his time having to worry about what's happening with them when he's at work/out. Unless he's somehow profiting from putting them into that home, he's actually decreasing the amount of money all three of you receive in the end. He's paying his lawyer from my grandparents' accounts. That's fairly normal. Why should he need to pay for a lawyer himself to defend a decision your grandparents made? He's not defending himself. He's defending the trust. Redditor 4. In response to Redditor 5. Probably the sister has a fairly large chunk of debt with the grandparents that she wants out of the way to get a bigger inheritance. Opie responds, I was wondering that, actually. They gave her loans for her house and 2 cars, but I have no idea how much she still owes them, if anything. I know she did borrow a lot because they're nice cars and she lives in a big house in a good neighborhood. She claims she paid them back around Christmas in a lump sum, but she doesn't make a ton of money, so I don't know. Redditor 4. Did you ask your brother how much she owes? I mean, ... When my grandparents pass, all their assets would be divided equally among my brother, my sister, and me. Except any outstanding loans any of us still have with them would be deducted from that person's share. Sounds very fair and reasonable to me. Opie responds, my brother and I weren't on great terms before, and now it's even worse, so I haven't asked him. God. I'm getting pretty angry reading everyone's comments, and I think I need to make some calls. There's a pre-trial hearing this week. Do I have time to take my name off this court thing if you guys are right? Later comment left in response to Redditor 4. OP, you were very correct. I updated the original post with more info. Redditor 4 responds, thank you for the update. At least you found out before it got worse. I'm sorry about your grandparents and your sister. Update. 5 months later. First, I'd like to thank everyone here and r/best of legal advice for your input, suggestions, and harsh words that it turns out I needed last fall. A few people commented that I sounded young, and that's pretty true. My brother and sister are much older than me, and my parents had me later in life. Mom used to say I was her favorite surprise, smiley face. So yeah, I'm just getting started in college, and don't have much real-world experience, which isn't an excuse for how I acted. But it is what it is, and I'm trying to be better. I took a humanities class that covers aging this semester because of this whole situation with my grandparents, and I learned so much. I really enjoyed it too. I'm thinking about changing my major so I can go into a field that helps protect the elderly, like maybe social work. So I told our lawyer back in November that I wanted nothing to do with the court case anymore and gave him a general outline of why I'd come to believe that my sister wasn't being totally honest. He filed stuff to show I was withdrawing my name from the case, and then he fired my sister as a client. She dismissed, I think this is the right term, her case since she'd no longer had a lawyer, and after some soul-searching and a couple visits with a counselor at school, I told her not to contact me again, and blocked her. My brother was willing to forgive me for some reason. I'm grateful for it, but I was a real jackass until I posted here about my grandparents' situation. He keeps me in the loop, which is how I know how the last almost 5 months have played out. My brother's attorney for the trust started getting emails from my sister's new lawyer. This would be the third one that she's used about her complaints over my grandparents' estate. Later in the fall, she was claiming to lawyer number 3 that my brother was hiding bank accounts, money, that he was letting the trust's real estate properties go to junk and not taking care of them, that he didn't have insurance on the properties, he was letting people live there for free, and a bunch of other stuff that I could see was completely not true. She also started telling my grandparents these lies, which upset them, and them being confused, they believed her for a bit and were just awful to my brother and me. Lawyer number 3 was sending demanding emails to my brother's lawyer for him to show proof that the houses are in good shape, insured, and not being misused. On and on and on. After a couple months of this, my brother's lawyer got an email directly from my sister, where she listed demands such as my brother must let her take inventory of all of my grandparents' possessions and take some keepsakes for herself, that any renter had to be evicted immediately, that he had to put all the real estate up for sale within 30 days, and other things that my brother's lawyer explained that he absolutely did not have to do. And if these things didn't happen within 30 days, she would be forced to pursue further legal action. And she CC'd her lawyer on this email. Well, my brother's lawyer got a call that same day from lawyer number 3 saying he had nothing to do with that email and wasn't consulted. That was the last we heard anything from lawyer number 3, and all was quiet for a few months. And that brings me to the current situation. My brother's lawyer recently forwarded him copies of emails with, drumroll please, my sister's new lawyer, lawyer number 4. This lawyer is from a firm that does local ads like, got a DUI? Charged with a crime? We can help. I don't know why they're taking on a probate situation, but it looks like they are. And really, it's the same stupid claims she made with lawyer number 3, and my brother's lawyer has already gone over with him exactly what he's supposed to be doing as the trustee, so he knows he doesn't have to do any of the stuff she's saying. It's just, this is getting very hard on my brother. He's just so tired of it all. What I want to know is, I guess, not so much about what legal steps he should be taking because his lawyer has that covered, but maybe some advice from you guys since you've been dealing with all types of people in court. Why is she doing this? I mean, she apparently wants to be the trustee, but my brother's lawyer said that probate court would never give it to her since my brother has shown that he's managing everything exactly right. So why does she continue? Is there anything we can do to get her to stop? My brother's lawyer said he's seen people act like this for years, but he didn't have any advice on anything we could do to get her to back off since she isn't breaking any laws. I would appreciate any advice or suggestions anyone has. Top/relevant comments. User 8246962 comments. That's great, OP, that you're on the side of your stand-up brother. I appreciate your candor/honesty about your own actions as well. Depending on how much of a nuisance/cost your sister's actions are to your brother, he may be able to file a lawsuit against her for the time and financial cost she's cost him, and his lawyer in frivolous legal actions. This course is time-consuming and costly unto itself. He sounds like he's already incredibly busy, father with young kids and overseeing your grandparents' health. Have you tried approaching your sister to ask her to stop? It's the least you could do, seeing as what your brother has done for your grandparents and the grace he's shown you. Opie responds, quoting, he may be able to file a lawsuit against her for the time and financial cost she's cost him and his lawyer in frivolous legal actions. Well, my brother's lawyer is the lawyer for the trust and is paid from the trust, so it isn't costing my brother any money directly, just time in dealing with all this crap. Can the trust sue if he wanted to go that route? Have you tried approaching your sister to ask her to stop? I did try that a few months ago and got a lovely "go fuck yourself" as a response. User 8246962 comments in response further, yes, your brother as the trustee can sue her for lost time and legal fees if he can clearly prove her actions have been frivolous. Opie responds, alright, I know the last thing he wants to do is to cost the trust any more money, so he probably won't want to go that route, but I'll bring it up as an option. Thank you. Redditor 6. Your grandparents' estate has been paying for your brother's lawyers. Is there any way she can be forced to pay that back and or stop filing suits? Is this frivolous on her part? Redditor 7 comments in response, in the original post it was mentioned there was a no contest clause. Hopefully this kicks in and the sister gets nothing. Opie responds, I actually talked to my brother about the no contest clause when our sister started up with lawyer number 3. The way his lawyer / the trust lawyer explained it is that since she isn't actually filing or contesting any of this current stuff in court, that it would be very difficult to make the no contest clause stick. This is all her having her lawyer of the week sending demanding emails to the trust lawyer. She'd need to file an aggressive, this isn't the word he used, but I can't remember exactly what it was, action in probate court against the trust, and at that point, it would probably kick in. So, in my mind, I'm kind of left with the idea that the reason why the sister's pursuing this as aggressively as she is because in her mind, well, the legal fees I'm spending right now are a lot cheaper than me having $500,000 taken out of my inheritance. So she's actively trying to either fluff the total inheritance by having the brother sell the homes and, her grabbing random shit, or, potentially, and she wants to be put in the position of having full control and power of attorney of the trust so she can remove that clause about the inheritance and essentially, have her debts wiped away and never even seen again. Final update, almost 5 years later. So, right near 5 years have passed since my update on my sister doing her best to manipulate her way into getting her hands on our grandparents' substantial assets. This is the final update because both grandparents have passed, and my brother filed the final tax return for the trust last month, which was the last thing needed to settle it. Here's what happened. Gramps suffered a stroke several months after my last update. Because it happened at an assisted living facility just down the street from a major hospital, he was able to initially survive. My brother felt it was only right to inform our sister. I didn't agree. She took his call, thanked him for calling, and never came to the hospital. My brother and I sat in the ICU in shifts for days with Gramps. Gramps held on for several months, was even able to return to live with his wife, but he was obviously not the same, and pneumonia took him in the end. His death pretty much sent Granny over the edge. Her Alzheimer's progressed quickly after she lost Gramps and needed to be moved to the memory unit. Grammy held on for years. Pneumonia took her the summer before the pandemic. My sister never visited our grandparents after my last update. She didn't give up on her quest to be a terrible person, though. Lawyer 4 lasted over 3 years. They settled into a rhythm of sending frequent demand emails to the trust's lawyer for copies of checks, proof that the estate properties were insured, trust bank records, anything they were technically entitled to review due to my sister being a beneficiary. Anytime a property had a necessary repair, i.e. plumbing issue causing sewage to leak in a house, my sister would have her lawyer demand copies of everything, insist on getting multiple quotes for time-sensitive work, anything to drag the process out. Every year when my brother would submit the trust accounting, Weeks of work would follow due to her demanding clarification on every medical bill or questioning why Granny needed $100 worth of clothing from Target or whatever random tidbit she'd latch onto. All one at a time, dragging everything out. She also discovered that she could file complaints in probate court. The judge would send the complaints to mediation. My brother wouldn't agree to anything in mediation, and my sister would have her lawyer withdraw the filing. This happened multiple times. The trust's legal costs were staggering as a result of all of this. When Grammy passed, the trust's law firm submitted an equitable distribution proposal to my sister's lawyer, including her outstanding debts, which she never attempted to repay to the trust, and which she continued to deny, in spite of the documentation my brother had. My brother even offered to reduce the amount she owed if she wanted to take one of the real estate properties she'd previously expressed interest in, so he wouldn't have to deal with selling it. She refused the proposal if any of her debts were included. There was some back and forth for a couple of months, then she went quiet for a bit. The trust's lawyer assumed, probably correctly, that lawyer number 4 realized his easy payday of sending nasty emails and filing motions that would go nowhere was over, and stopped representing her. So she got a new guy, and my brother had to start the whole process over. This new lawyer came to the table with only my sister's version of the story, including some new embellishments about my brother hiding my grandparents from her, and never knowing where they were, their health status, if they were even alive. The new lawyer really latched onto that part. The trust's lawyer had told my brother early on to shoot them an email with any updates or changes to my grandparents' status/location, such as hospitalizations or ER trips or transfers to different assisted living accommodations, and he always did so. The lawyer who took the lead on handling the trust said it was hilariously satisfying to provide copies of my brother's emails to her and her subsequent emails to whichever lawyer my sister was on with said updates to lawyer number 5. He suddenly had a more pleasant demeanor. This is already long, so I'll simplify the next several months, late 2019 to early 2020. Sister at first refused a distribution proposal. Trust lawyer simply submitted the proposal to probate court for them to approve. Sister was suddenly fine with accepting the proposal. She asked for cash distribution less her debts, no property in kind. Brother takes the rental property in kind, asks if I had interest in the vacation property our sister had previously wanted but no longer did. I have good memories there, decide to accept the offer so I can visit the property and so my brother can still use it. Everyone signs the distribution agreements, papers are filed in court, and it's done. My brother sells the remaining real estate property, a hometown my grandparents lived in before entering assisted living, and cuts checks for the cash distribution. And we haven't heard a word from our sister since. Not in any form. She deposited her check immediately, and that was that. It's so anticlimactic after all the hassle she caused over the last 5 years. The only thing she accomplished with these years of greed was to cost the trust something like $600,000 in legal and related fees. That's money that would have been split among the 3 of us. She cost herself over $200,000 for nothing. She didn't even take the vacation property she had claimed to want so badly. Despite everything, my brother offered it to her first because it apparently held so much sentimental value. Apparently, once she saw the appraisal on it from 2019, it wasn't that sentimental to her. It appraised at $90,000. It's not some fancy resort property or something, just a small vacation home in a pretty area. I guess it's a happy enough resolution, all things considered. I was able to pay off my small amount of student debt from undergrad, and I'll be able to pay for grad school. I elected to take a year off to work in a nonprofit, and then pandemic, with a little nest egg. I have a cute vacation house that's now suddenly worth a whole lot more, but I'm not counting on its valuation staying where it is. My brother and I just use it for its intended purpose. My brother elected to take the rental property as part of his share, and after all the crap he's had to deal with, he definitely deserves the rental income. I helped him where I could in all this mess, and I attended the mediation meetings with him to speak on behalf of the trust. But he did the hard work. My brother and I are cool. We're friends even. He forgave me for being an utter ass all those years ago, and I get to be the cool uncle now. I'm not even sure if any of the same posters are still active in this sub, but if you were around then, thanks for the brutal honesty and for explaining what was going on before I made any terrible mistakes. Top/relevant comments. Native masshole comments. She cost them $600,000 and still gotta walk away with some cash and her debt cleared. All for nothing. Some people just really need their asses kicked. Redditor 8. I'm so fascinated by the sister. I need to know more about her. Like, has she always been this narcissistic and manipulative? Has she ever cared about the grandparents? Did she truly in her heart believe that her method would be effective? What even was her ultimate goal? Clearly, it was not to make money, and I can't imagine she'd be the type to actually want to take care of her grandparents and manage their finances if she did take control. Does she treat other people in her life this way? Friends? Spouse? Children? When you're 5 lawyers deep and neither your siblings nor grandparents are speaking to you, at what point do you realize you're the common denominator? Redditor 9 responds, I was wondering about her too. Like, how did she possibly get OP to believe that bringing dinners and shoveling walks and helping out 90-year-old grandparents was a bad thing and fostered dependence? How independent do you expect elderly people to have to be? And how on earth does doing nice things like that for people make them dependent? She somehow twisted her brother's years of selfless service into something manipulative and evil. Maybe it's because if she does anything nice, it's always an expectation of gaining something. It's just amazing that she got OP to go along with her based on this reasoning for as long as he did. I'm glad he saw the light before it was too late. Redditor 10. It looks like he was very young and naive at the start. Redditor 11. Young and naive, as others have confirmed, but also orphaned. He doesn't say who was his guardian once his parents died. Maybe it was his sister, and maybe it was someone else. But I have to imagine losing your parents so young blinds you to the faults in your surviving relatives and makes you easy prey for one of them to manipulate you. Glad this had a happy ending, not only for the trust proceeds, but for Legal Advice OP's relationship with his brother. Sounds like Legal Advice OP is still beating himself up a little for his initial reaction, and I hope he grants himself the same forgiveness that his older brother has clearly already granted him. OP responds, Legal Advice OP here. My sister was my guardian from age 15 when our parents died, until I turned 18. It didn't seem like she was this awful at the time. She was alright. She was never overtly mean or manipulative. I had what I needed. We mostly left each other alone. Fortunately, my parents set up a college fund for me, so between that and some scholarships, I was able to get through undergrad in the dorms with just a small amount of debt. I didn't have to deal with going back to living with her after everything blew up. It's kinda hard not to still feel bad about it, even if I didn't fully understand the situation at the time. I'm trying, though. Redditor 11 comments, I wonder if the Netflix movie I Care a Lot triggered his interest in telling his story. That movie pissed me the hell off. Opie responds, it didn't. My brother told me last week that the trust's tax return was processed. Might have the terminology wrong, but he got the all clear from the lawyer, and that the estate could finally be closed. When I had some time, I hopped on this account to post an update in case anyone was interested in a resolution. I can't bring myself to watch that movie. I would not enjoy it. Honestly, the older brother was more fair to everyone in the story than he really needed to be. He 100% could have taken more decisive action to have the sister repay the legal fees, and he could have done some pretty just harsh things in order to, kind of get back at her and to pull the rug out from under her for the bullshit she was doing. But he didn't, and in the end, he still offered her the vacation home, which she didn't want because she could no longer get a nice payday out of. While the sister's consequences are not that satisfying, I still found this story 100% worth a read. And with my unfortunate experience with the legal issue side of things, I will say that the sister definitely dug herself her own hole, because not only did she lose the $20,000 from the inheritance, she still racked up one hell of a bill in legal fees. I promise you that. If Lawyer 4 was one of those billboard lawyers, he nickel and dimed her for everything possible at the highest rate he definitely could. If I had to maybe guess, I would say that the Lawyer 5 probably told her that, hey, If you continue this, you're only eating away at your potential inheritance, and there's no guarantee this will actually go anywhere. I also wonder if the monetary cost of how much she spent on the legal fees, how much she owed in debts, and how much she lost because as she was sending legal demands, she was eating away at her inheritance. If she finally just gave in and realized, fuck, this didn't go according to plan. And I do sincerely believe she fully intended to take over the trust and attempt to just completely sideline the brothers, put the grandparents into some fucked up living situation with a Craigslist nanny apparently, and then pocket as much as she possibly could in the meantime from the estate. I also wouldn't be surprised if the grandparents for a while were actively financing the sister's lifestyle, which is why she managed to rake up $500,000 in debt with them. I know this one probably wasn't the most satisfying, but I do hope you guys still enjoyed it, because I know I did. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here. This post was collected by Faith and Cheese. Original OP is Accomplished Bar 5656, originally posted March 16th, 2023. To r/am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for suing my parents for my college money? My great aunt set up savings accounts for all of her female friends. In our culture, education for women is not really valued, and she thought that was bullshit. She lived with her father in London, where she was educated. She went on to attend university and became a doctor. She married a British man. They moved to America and had a great life. She funded the education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl relative she could. My parents managed to access the accounts that were set up for my sister and I. They used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't care because she got married 2 years out of high school and had no intention of going to college. When I graduated, I went to the bank to get money for school and it was almost gone. There was like $13,000 left. I asked my parents about it and they said they had needed the money. I finally found out where the money went. I got furious. I got student loans and moved out. I'm a great source of shame to them and I don't give two fucks. I'm currently suing them for the money that was left for me. My entire family is against me. They all think I'm a complete asshole for airing private family business in public and that I'm putting money ahead of family. My friends are all on my side, but they're all Americans and don't really get my culture. Neither do I, to be honest. My brother called me up and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I agreed, as long as we had a legally binding contract. He said I was being an asshole for not trusting him. I said he should not have accepted my money for his wedding. It is causing all kinds of embarrassment in our community. I'm somewhat ashamed to be doing this, but I don't want to have this debt I should not have. Before we get to the update, I do just want to point out the irony of saying, "You're putting money ahead of family." Like you did by spending the money that was left to your daughter for her education, you put the money that was for her ahead of her, your own family. Update. It's over. I got my money. I also pretty much have been disowned by my family, but I consider that a win as well. My parents ended up having to mortgage some property to pay me back for what they stole. My family is embarrassed that I forced them to this point after they had offered to pay me back in installments. Nobody is willing to answer me when I ask them, what would make my parents pay me back if I was stupid enough to trust them? I've been told that I will never find a husband from our culture with my belligerent attitude and my strident independence. I left. I do not want anything to do with that culture except perhaps enjoy the food. I plan on never returning to that country. I'm enjoying the independence I've achieved and am more than happy to know that several other of the young women in my family have taken steps to lock down the education funds left for them. For those of you that think that it's sexist that my great aunt only cared about educating women, please die angry. With your belligerent attitude and strident independence, you'll never find a husband from our culture. That's the neat part. That's the point. The thing that I'm really curious about is what did they burn the education money on? Because my guess would be is they decided that, oh, well, our first daughter isn't going to college, so we can probably get away with also spending our second daughter's money as well. Opie's parents were hypocrites. They put money before family. The aunt knew exactly what was going on with this whole family and culture dynamic and decided to put an end to it. And she did good by all of her nieces. Also, saying it's sexist that the aunt gave money for college to her nieces in a culture where they usually don't go to college, that's like saying it's sexist to give women the right to vote because what are you doing for the men? They already had that. I don't know what to tell you. Don't forget, today is the final day that you can get free shipping from GamerSupps while using code OZ at checkout on all orders above $75. This way you don't have to break the bank while getting shipping. My legs really hurt. I've been standing all day and moving around and doing like renovations and cleaning and a lot of stuff, and then I stand in the vocal booth to record, and I don't think I've sat down all day. And my feet right now, they're just screaming at me. So are my shins. I can't wait to go to bed.